toxic partisanship, left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Andrew Hollister, co-hosting with me this afternoon. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us today.
Glad to be here as always.
All right, and we're live here on WYSL, which means that you, the listener, can call in. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We're also live on so many social media channels. We're live on the Free Solution Facebook page, Free Solution YouTube channel, the Kevin Wilson pages, the Andrew Hollister pages. We're all over the place. So wherever you're listening today, thanks for being here. Shout down the line to our friends listening a little bit later in the day over at WACK out in Newark. Appreciate y'all being here as well. And well, Andrew and I, we have a topic today that I think's gone a little bit undercovered. Like there's a big story on it, but it's something that I think is worth talking about. It has to do with the deep state, it has to do with assassination plots, stuff that's spanning multiple administrations.
All the cool spy movies.
Yeah, I mean, there is a plan to have a shootout / car chase in a major world city, like legit spy versus spy stuff. Like the plots that came out of this are wild.
Yeah, no, when I read this article, I had to go and check and just, make sure this wasn't fake news. I guess.
Yeah.
Because it certainly reads like something that maybe the average person wouldn't expect is coming out of the taxpayer dollars that they're giving to their government. Or maybe they would. I don't know. I don't know. But I guess to kind of prime the conversation, we should tell you guys what WikiLeaks is, in case you haven't heard of WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks is essentially a journalism organization who allowed anonymous sources to upload basically anything to their website. If you thought it was news, if you thought it was important, if you thought people should know about it, you can upload information to their website and they'll kind of check it out and publish it, basically. And what that turned into for years and years, they were kind of ignored. And then somebody uploaded footage of U.S. troops opening fire on, I believe it was in Afghanistan, and killing some reporters. And the Pentagon refused to show any of the footage. Well, somebody who had access to the footage uploaded it to WikiLeaks. And they started being taken much more seriously because now there's footage here on the internet the U.S. government refused to release, showing actions taken that were being denied and maybe not necessarily covered up, but certainly they weren't providing this information. It wasn't publicly accessible. And there it was. So fast forward a little bit more, Edward Snowden, many of you guys know the name, had also given information to WikiLeaks when he found out that the U.S. government was spying on its citizens. And that story could take, 17 episodes to get through, which we don't have today.
To distribute that information, also gave it to the folks like Glenn Greenwald, who had done the whole NSA spying thing, as Edward Snowden was fleeing to, I think first to Hong Kong and then over to Russia, who for totally spiteful reasons is allowing them to stay there. Let's not pretend the Russians are the good guys here. They're absolutely the bad guys, but to spite the US, they're letting Edward Snowden stay in their country. So some of the first stuff you're referencing, though, it was the stuff that was initially released by active U.S. military personnel. It was released by Chelsea Manning, going by Bradley Manning at the time. So they released these videos of essentially war crimes being committed, and this was stuff that like kind of journalists sort of knew about, like the people in now I'm forgetting now if it was Afghanistan or Iraq had known about too, and we're trying to get that story out. But they said this is a state secret. You don't get to know about any of this. We're not releasing any of the video, none of the information. And so Chelsea Manning just like, well, you know what? I'm just going to do it. This is the right thing to do. People need to know about this. This is a crime. Like I'm not going to be part of covering this up. They sent it to WikiLeaks, and basically after that, that's, as you said, WikiLeaks had gotten a little bit of attention beforehand, but after that, WikiLeaks was really on the target list for the CIA and for U.S. intelligence agencies, because they said that they were facilitating, not merely like publishing, but facilitating the disclosure of like classified information. Essentially, like they're encouraging people to leak state secrets, and accuse them of espionage and all these things. And so that's what happened with that. And then following that, Julian Assange, who is actually an Australian citizen heading up WikiLeaks, he was accused of rape, and they were trying to extradite him, and the US is trying to extradite him. And then he was in the UK and then ended up getting held at the Ecuadorian embassy for several years. And it's kind of where he's remained. That things have kind of soured there. And now the US is in the process of trying to get him over to our country to face a whole host of charges, some of which could potentially include, either lifetime prison sentences or the death penalty. So it's serious business stuff that like the UK courts are considering in the extradition process. And the American government, again, spanning multiple administrations, is doing a couple of concerning things. So like one is they're kind of trying to redefine what is and isn't a journalist, right? So Glenn Greenwald has a great tweet thread on this. If you follow me on Twitter at Kevin Wilson Rock, it's one of my recent tweets. Go look at that, check it out, because they said, well, these aren't journalists, these are information brokers, right? So trying to reclassify them as something other than someone trying to bring to light the crimes of government to the public.
And can you imagine that too? Like these are the steps to take away freedom of speech, and they'll always use some sort of boogeyman to get people to go, yeah, you know what, we should take away this right. And so now if this happens and the US government can determine which journalists are information brokers and which ones are journalists, then they get to choose who has freedom of speech and who gets charged for speech that maybe disagrees with the government, maybe sheds bad light on government. That's a scary thing for me. That's really scary.
It is a scary thing. And what WikiLeaks is accused of is basically just being an organization that works on behalf of the Russian government to try to leak bad things about the US. So they're saying this isn't a legitimate journalistic outfit. They're just trying to make the American government look bad by exposing the very, very real crimes of the American government. Because let's be real, a lot of stuff that they publish, sometimes it's just tons and tons and tons of like nonsense. Like they did a whole email leak, and most of it is just not anything that's interesting and important, but you find a few nuggets in there. Like when they did WikiLeaks also did the email dump during the 2016 election that showed how the Democratic National Committee was basically organizing in favor of Hillary Clinton at the cost of Bernie Sanders. So WikiLeaks was also behind that. And that was kind of where WikiLeaks is Russian disinformation. Don't believe don't believe these
Russians,
emails, between like Donna Brazile and Debbie Washington Schultz and all those folks, like being in cahoots with Hillary Clinton to make sure that she got the nomination. Ignore all that. It's the Russians trying to make us look bad. Never mind that actually happened, and that was like real collusion taking place to benefit one candidate over another.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me when people respond to getting in trouble or having the light shed on the bad things that they're doing, how they point the finger at the party that exposed them and says something like, "That's illegal. You can't tell on me. You can't let people know that I'm doing bad things. Don't look at the bad things I'm doing. Look at the bad things they're doing to show you the bad things I'm doing."
Yeah, exactly. So a nice little bit of whataboutism there. Whataboutism being like, well, don't worry about the terrible thing. Look at what the Russians are doing. Those guys are super bad. I'm like, no, hold on. We know that, but also you're doing a bad thing, and that's worth talking about. What the heck?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so I know we're running out of time for this segment, and I see a comment coming in that I want to make sure I address next segment too. But again, we're live today. Folks, you can call in. You can participate in this conversation. Give us your thoughts on WikiLeaks. We're going to talk about the whole assassination plot thing. Give us a call, 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009. We're going to be back with more on A Free Solution in just a few minutes.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Tyranny.
There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof from Afghanistan.
No one thinks it can happen here.
Shelter in place until and unless you receive a communication from the U.S. Embassy.
And without our God-given right to self-protection as outlined in the Second Amendment, it can. But this fall, you have the opportunity to stand up for freedom. October 8th, 9th, and 10th, celebrate freedom, faith, and family at the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival. It's America's largest festival for Second Amendment advocacy. With Pastor Sean Moon, Sheriff Richard Mack, Olympian Gabby Franco, Dr. John Lott, Teddy Daniels, and very special guest, radio talk show host and patriot Dana Lash. Plus great live music, vendors, fireworks, and you. Tickets are free at rodofironfreedomfestival.org. That's rodofironfreedomfestival.org. Join us to celebrate freedom.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, with Andrew Hollister, co-hosting in today. Again, we're live here on WYSL. Give us a call if you want to participate in the discussion, 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009. Or leave your comments online. We'll read off a couple of those now. Tim O'Connor says, howdy, fellas. Howdy, Tim. Thanks for listening today. Stephen Morgenstern also giving us a wave. Thanks for listening, Stephen. Wave back. Can't see that on the radio, but we're waving.
No, we're waving back.
And then Brian asked a question, says, if it is truly a leak, doesn't that mean by default it is true? This is a good question.
It's a great question.
Maybe you have to verify that evidence, right? Like it's not that hard on a superficial level to fake the look of an email or a video, right? Like you can put out fake stuff, you can put out deep fake stuff on videos, and yeah, you can make something look like it is a email coming from Hillary Clinton or from Barack Obama or whoever, and someone has to go in and verify that that's the real thing. So is it true? Maybe. But someone has to make sure it's real. WikiLeaks supposedly does some of that, but they've been accused of releasing information that's less than true. So kind of independent journalists, researchers, etc., the people looking at this stuff kind of has to use some discernment. Andrew, anything to add to that?
Yeah, just to add to that, a lot of times the government's not denying that stuff, So yeah, by default, I think a lot of this probably has been true. And kind of back to the comment from the previous segment was, a lot of times they spend their time and energy pointing the finger, saying the way you got this information was illegal, not this isn't true.
Yeah, they'll do the whole like we're neither going to confirm nor deny that this is true, but like they did this in a bad way. They released this information away. Okay, all right. So you did commit those war crimes. You just didn't like how like people found out about it.
Yeah, or that they found out at all. And that's the issue, I think, is organizations like this are bringing to light the things that the world and American people would just have never known, or would have written off as a conspiracy theory maybe, or just say, oh, there's no clout to this, so therefore information overload, I'm not going to pay attention to this, there's not really a good way to validate this and see if this is true or even pursue it. WikiLeaks is kind of making that a lot easier for people to find and see that, this is what's going on. And this is really bad. And I don't like that my government's doing this. Shame on you, government. And then government's going, well, they got this information in a bad way, so we're going to arrest them and maybe kill them for it.
Yeah. And that's what, is really wild about this whole story is like how they chose to react to this. And again, this isn't a Democrat thing or Republican thing. Like when people like talk about the deep state as other than like a talking point, when they talk about like organizations like the NSA, CIA, or even like just the bureaucracy that exists across many like iterations of politics, many political leaders, this is kind of what this is. It's like they operate kind of by their own like set of values that is semi-independent of who is actually president. Which is so interesting because Trump ran against all that stuff, but like this assassination plot came from Mike Pompeo, his director of CIA. And another comment, Brian says turning against the whistleblowers, what I was implying, so it's with the whistleblower like sending that stuff out, in theory, it's probably it could be true, but like I would say, verify first because people put out fake stuff all the time. Don't always trust all of it. But again, as Andrew pointed out, they weren't really denying the truth of this stuff. They're mostly just mad about how it happened.
Yeah.
So I want to get into like what actually like happened in terms of like the assassination plot stuff. Andrew, do you want to cover that stuff or you want me to do it?
I'll let you lead off.
All right. So again,
because I'm not even really sure where to start.
Yes.
So
we've kind of covered like,
really,
what was going on with Julian Assange, all that stuff, right? He was in London. He was in this Ecuadorian embassy. The U.S. government is accusing him of basically encouraging and facilitating the hacking of a classified U.S. computer network with Chelsea Manning to obtain these documents, violating the Espionage Act, so that's where that's coming from. But the wild part about this is that they were
going to move him.
Yep.
So he was going to, I think, Russia is where
they thought he was going to end up in Russia, right? So what they what they were worried about was that he would move from the Ecuadorian embassy in the UK, where they felt more confident as long as he remained in the UK that they'd be able to extradite him, to Russia, where they wouldn't be able to extradite him at all. Right.
Mhm.
So they're very worried about this happening. And like they were trying to spy on the Ecuadorian embassy and like the Russians to try to figure out if he was going to move, when he was going to move. And then they kind of developed this potential plot to say, well, if this guy's going to leave, like maybe we should like try to kidnap him or like assassinate him along the way.
Just kill him while he's moving.
Yeah. And they're
Which
so
is
scared of
awful.
this guy. Yeah. I'm
Absolutely awful.
Extrajudicial assassinations. Again, this happened under the Trump administration, but the Obama administration wasn't exactly nice about it either, and neither is the Biden administration. They're all pretty determined to make sure that this guy goes away forever for exposing the crimes of the U.S. military and the U.S. government. And so they what's also interesting is they classified, and this is under Pompeo, they classified WikiLeaks as a non-state hostile intelligence service. So basically, like an independent intelligence agency that the CIA could go after, but what isn't associated with a government, right?
Yeah.
And so again, instead of classifying them as journalists, they say what do they call it? A non-state hostile intelligence agency opposing the U.S. government. And so
their plans were pretty elaborate too. I mean, they had plans to drive a vehicle into the vehicle he was transported in. They had plans to, if he made it to the plane, to shoot out the tires of the plane so it couldn't take off. I mean, this is like spy movie stuff. And it's like, it's a bit nuts.
Yeah, there are like plots and counterplots. Again, like the spies were all sitting outside of like the Ecuadorian embassy trying to like figure out what each other were doing and sabotaging each other. And they were going to like work with British intelligence services to like facilitate the shootout and like to crash his car into his car to try to extract him. Again, in the middle of the city of London.
Yeah. And they
some
even
James Bond stuff.
I know, and they like planned out a gunfight with Kremlin agents in London, and how they would respond to that. I don't know. I think there's a movie to be formed about this. I mean, it's I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, and again, this didn't happen, right? Like these plans were pitched allegedly, but never were actually carried out in part because he didn't end up like leaving anyway, or maybe he didn't leave because they didn't think that he was able to get out safely. And I know there's some folks getting confused in the comments. Who are we talking about? Are we talking about Assange or Snowden? Mostly talking about Julian Assange right now. Snowden kind of he has his own story associated with some of this stuff too, and most of it has to do with like in the same way that the U.S. government is reclassifying WikiLeaks as things like non-state hostile intelligence agency, and they're reclassifying journalists as information brokers that the U.S. can go after because they're spreading information or encouraging the leaking of information that the U.S. government doesn't want. Journalism is, of course, protected, or free speech is protected, but so information brokering, if you're acting on behalf of an intelligence agency or whatever in a way that the government is accusing, is in their minds less protected. Now, that also did not work, by the way. I'm talking about the reclassifying journalists thing. The Department of Justice under the Obama administration said, no, that's too far. That's not how the law works. It's not how like journalism works. Like you can't just do that. But they sure did try, and that is alarming. All right. Thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. If you have any thoughts on what's going on with the the Julian Assange stuff with this whole story. I'll post a link to the story in the comments. You'll be able to see that on any of our pages if you want to read it for yourself. But if you want to call in too, give us a call, 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009. We're going to be back with more on A Free Solution in just a few minutes.
Fly the flag, stand for freedom. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. Tonight we'll have increasing clouds. A couple of showers might move in. A little bit of a cool breeze out of the north will drop down into the low 50s on Thursday. A couple of morning showers. Those will try to clear up in the afternoon, but a bit of a cool day, only in the 50s to near 60. On Friday should be some nice fall weather, sunshine, fair weather clouds, low 60s for a high, and it looks like some decent weather into the start of the weekend. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
Hi, this is Gary Mervis, founder of Camp Good Days. September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, and I want to encourage all men, especially those that are 50 and older, to talk to their physician about their prostate health. As men, we don't typically think about our prostate or what it even does until it becomes a problem. Speaking from personal experience, I can tell you that keeping track of your prostate health should be a priority. In order to make sure your prostate is in good shape, your doctor can give a digital exam or order a simple blood test to check your PSA levels. If something is wrong, the best option is to get answers is a biopsy. Prostate cancer is one of the most frequently diagnosed cancer and second leading cause of cancer death in American men. It's very treatable if caught early enough. However, the best form of treatment is being proactive with your doctor. Camp Good Days hosted a number of men's prostate cancer retreats. With the help of Dr. Gene Joseph, chair of the Department of Urology at the University of Rochester, and Louis Leichel, chief of urology at the division in Rochester General Hospital. For more information, call our office at 624-5555 or visit campgooddays.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
This is Vinny Dallo, founder of Cabin Financial. I want to ask you a question. How's your health? In today's environment, personal health is a top priority. I'll be more specific. How's your financial health? We all know the importance of getting a checkup, but when was your last financial checkup? If it's been a while, or you want to make sure that you're on track financially, then you should schedule a financial checkup. That's why you should call Cap'n Financial. We specialize in taking a look at your financial situation and work together to get you on the best track and in the best health of your financial life. Find us online at capnfinancial.com or call today, 585-248-6769.
Vinny Dallo is a financial advisor offering investment advisory and services through Eagle Strategies, LLC, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC, Cap'n Financial, its employees, nor NILIFE Securities, LLC, or its representatives or affiliates provide tax, legal, and accounting advice. Please consult your own tax, legal, or accounting professional before making any decisions.
With disastrous changes in Washington, corporate media that's captive to government, and increasing censorship of news and social media, it's important to preserve freedom of speech and truth. Whether it's related to endless COVID mandates, Albany corruption, or city violence, please use the WYSL stations to advertise and grow your business, professional practice, or organization. Help us continue to entertain and inform you, and stand up to authoritarianism, lies, and bullying. And thanks in advance for your support. From the WYSL stations, the voice of liberty. Call 346-3000 to advertise.
Geneseo Hardware and Rental has all your project needs. They have a large selection of hardware, plumbing, electrical, home goods, lawn and garden, plus much more. Geneseo Hardware offers Valspar paint, Cabot stains, a wide selection of rental items, plus screen and window repair. Get personalized service. Open 7 days a week. Geneseo Hardware and Rental, Route 20A next to Wegmans Plaza. Visit geneseo-rental.com.
Experience fall and New York's finest apples at Genesee Country Village Museum on Monday, October 11th. Kids 12 and under are free. Come explore the orchards and take a family photo. See an apple press in action. Learn about drying apples and watch historic cooking demonstrations. Visit gcv.org.
A free solution. A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Andrew Hollister, co-hosts on Wednesdays now. Back. We're live here on WYSL, which means that you, the listener, can call in, participate in the show. Give us a call, 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009. Or leave your comment online wherever you're listening. A Free Solution Facebook page, Free Solution YouTube channel, Kevin Wilson pages, or the Andrew Hollister pages, wherever you're listening today. Thank you. And shout down the line to our friends listening over at WACK out in Newark. Listening a little bit later. Appreciate y'all being here too. And a couple other folks listening online too. Shelly says, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Shelly.
Afternoon.
Thanks for listening today. And Michelle says, afternoon, Andrew. I don't get an afternoon, it's fine, but but sorry. Thank you for listening today, Michelle. Appreciate y'all being here. And again, today we're talking about the wild plot to allegedly to assassinate Julian Assange. Like the assassination plot stuff, it's like it's so ridiculous. It's almost funny, but like it is built around like a shift in how intelligence services are attacking journalistic organizations, reclassifying journalistic organizations, and getting far more aggressive in attacking anyone who is critical of the American government. And they try to reframe this as, well, these are people working on behalf of our enemy. They are not journalists. They're information brokers or non-state intelligence agencies. And this is a very serious change in how people approach criticism to the U.S. government, because it involves a lot more danger. They're out in the open about it. That getting mixed up with these stories is a threat to your life, and they you know, it's like the CIA want you to know that, so that you're less likely to act and reveal this information, even if the information you're revealing is crimes committed by the American government, war crimes, like whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if Kevin and I had to sit together before the show and say, should we talk about this story? Are we going to be safe when we leave our houses after talking about this on the radio today? Like that's kind of like what they're trying to change with this, where in the event that they deem that the information being published by a journalist is what they consider dangerous or against the United States government, they just, change your classification. You're not a journalist anymore. You don't have freedom of speech. You're an information broker. You shared on the public radio waves information that we think is worthy of death. That's awful. Not about it.
Yeah, no, it's a huge change to the way. Well, I mean, maybe not a huge change to the way things, the way American government has approached things. There's many stories going back decades to with the American government doing this stuff, but it's still shocking to see this type of behavior happening, to see the reclassification happening, to think about like whether or not these institutions can survive publishing information when someone like Julian Assange and WikiLeaks sends it out, or even things like Glenn Greenwald when he was at I think he was at the Intercept at the time, or no, maybe he was at the Guardian.
I think
he was at the Guardian at the time. The Intercept's what he founded after, and now he's doing like a Substack thing or whatever. But yeah, like can these like outlets survive that? And you think about it, like these organizations too, they get like gag orders for this type of stuff. Like they get this information, they go and ask, for comments from like intelligence officials before they publish it? Do they get a gag order? If you're like a small independent journalist who's like working on getting this information, do you have the lawyers to work it out? Like, do you have the lawyers to go and fight this in court, or, do you get this gag order? Do you publish it anyway in opposition of a gag order and risk imprisonment for that? These are like all questions that like modern journalists, like, again, we're like opinion commentators on like a radio show, right? Like, I'm not going to like elevate our status to the stuff that like this Yahoo News journalist was doing, who's doing the actual research on covering stuff, or Glenn Greenwald. It's Zach Dorfman, Sean Naylor, and Michael Isikoff at Yahoo News. And again, check out the article. Like, it's a very long article. I'm not going to be able to get. We can't cover the whole thing, but it's worth reading in its entirety, because there's a lot more on this type of stuff here. But where was it going with this tangent? So with this type of stuff, I worry about it, and I also worry like the institutions that are supposed to be like talking about these issues, right? The ACLU, like, they were super noisy about this stuff between 2016 or 2017 and the end of 2020. Weirdly, they've been super quiet on this stuff the last couple months.
Wonder why.
Weird that they're not pushing the Biden administration to drop charges against Julian Assange. They're super noisy about this stuff when it was happening under the Trump administration. Less noisy now. And yeah, that's something that bugs me. Like, and the Republicans too. The Republicans, sorry folks who are listening to this, you're really critical, correctly, of the deep state. And when the leaks came out in 2016 of the emails, you're like, this is journalism, this is good. No, they're exposing the crimes and nefarious activities of Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party. And then what happened, guys? What suddenly you got on team deep state. Like, wake up and smell the hypocrisy on this, folks. Like, this isn't a Republican problem. This isn't a Democrat problem. This is an American institutional power problem that affects all of us. And so it's critical to understand this stuff if we want to keep our government accountable. Don't expect to elect a Republican president and have them fix this issue. Don't expect to elect a Democratic president and have them fix this issue. It's not going to happen. Like, we need to hold them accountable across party lines, and you can't shut up about it when your tribe is in power.
Yeah, that's the party tribalism has been a problem for so long. I mean, we've seen this in every election, and I wish that there was a way to just, I don't know, wouldn't it be cool if we could get to a point where maybe we had nonpartisan ballots, where when you go to the polls, you just see the names, you have no idea what party they're affiliated with. And I think that would help us elect more people who elect people at least based solely on their policy, and start chopping away and chiseling out that tribalism. That would be awesome.
I would like to think so. That'd be nice.
It's not going to fix
be
it,
like,
but maybe
people would be like, I'm gonna vote row A all the way because I don't feel like going down that far.
Yep. No more race. No more rows. Well,
no more rows. Just it's going to be scattered.
Every ballot is randomized order.
It's funny. Like, I would be curious how it would work. This has never happened. Like, if you had to actually like fill in the name of everyone and the office they ran for, how would that change voting? Like, you could get some assistance if you're like, English isn't your first language, or, like you have literacy issues or other impairments. Sure, you get some assistance there. But like, who do you want to vote for president? You don't get a list.
You have to just write down their name. You don't even get multiple choice.
Who do you want to vote for Congress?
Yep.
Oh, you don't remember your member of Congress's name? Oh,
Sorry.
all right. You don't remember who's running? Well, I guess you're not informed enough to vote then.
Every single ballot is a write-in ballot. I love
that. Will says, elect people solely on cool names. That's oh man, I really, my parents really put me in a difficult position with Kevin Wilson. Not a cool enough name.
Not cool enough.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to change it. And Brian's saying the duopoly offers policies, the LP offers solutions. Love that.
Yep.
Free solution. There we go. Yep, name check and good. And that's if I had timed that so I played that with like the the outgoing music, it would have been perfect, but I did not. Oh, see, there we go.
Hey.
my producers helped me out here.
Yep.
Just need All right, so thanks again for joining us here on A Free Solution. Again, Kevin Wilson, Andrew Hollister on the show today. If you want to participate, leave your comments online or give us a call, 866-552-1009. That's 866-552-1009. We're going to be back in just a few minutes.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Tyranny.
There's going to be no circumstance where you see people being lifted off the roof from Afghanistan.
No one thinks it can happen here.
Shelter in place until and unless you receive a communication from the U.S. Embassy.
And without our God-given right to self-protection as outlined in the Second Amendment, it can. But this fall, you have the opportunity to stand up for freedom. October 8th, 9th, and 10th, celebrate freedom, faith, and family at the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival. It's America's largest festival for Second Amendment advocacy. With Pastor Sean Moon, Sheriff Richard Mack, Olympian Gabby Franco, Dr. John Lott, Teddy Daniels, and very special guest, radio talk show host and patriot Dana Lash. Plus great live music, vendors, fireworks, and you. Tickets are free at rodofironfreedomfestival.org. That's rodofironfreedomfestival.org. Join us to celebrate freedom.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. Kevin Wilson, host for today, joined by Free Solution host Andrew Hollister, and talking about the Julian Assange stuff, the CIA stuff, all sorts of things. Again, I posted the link to the article in all the feeds that StreamYard will let me. So I think it's the Facebook pages and the YouTube channels. I can't post it on Twitter anymore for some reason. But but all the other ones except for Twitter, if you guys are listening on the radio, make sure you go check that out. It's a very long article, but goes deep into all of this stuff way more than we have time to talk about on the show. And I did want to also get to an interesting comment from for Brian. Says, when the Alien Sedition Act, the first legislation limiting criticism of government. And yes, so quick history lesson on that. The founding fathers were still kind of working out what exactly the First Amendment meant at the time. So a couple of different funny things that were going on with that is one, like people weren't sure that like this whole like freedom thing was going to like work out. Right. Like they again, founding fathers were still like hashing it out at the time. And so John Adams, the second president, kind of helped encourage this legislation to get through the Congress at the time, called the Alien Sedition Act. And part of what it did is it basically limited criticism of the U.S. government, and made it difficult for you to say anything mean about the president. And folks, if you think people say mean things about politicians now, you should see what they said then. Stuff I can't repeat on the radio. It's very nasty stuff. They were Thomas Jefferson's folks were legitimately mean to John Adams, but it is their right to do that. They have the right to free speech. This made it illegal. And I think there was actually a member of Congress who was imprisoned over this. But this bill was pretty unpopular. A lot of people did not like it. And it ended up getting repealed as soon as John Adams lost his election in 1800 with Thomas Jefferson coming in. And then they repealed that. But yes, Alien Sedition Act for a while. And this is kind of in the same time where the Supreme Court was still establishing their judicial review stuff. So if you're like, why didn't the Supreme Court strike this down? They're still figuring all this stuff out. And there's been other limitations on free speech and journalism throughout the United States. For instance, in the beginning, I'm giving Andrew a whole history lesson here. So you folks, Andrew's like, okay, cool. I don't know about that. But in the beginning of the country, the First Amendment did not apply to the states. The states were able to limit free speech internally. The First Amendment was only a limitation on the federal government. The Bill of Rights was not incorporated into the laws of the state until after the 14th Amendment got passed. So in a lot of southern states, especially, they would establish official religions. And so in the northern states, they had established official religions too, like Massachusetts did that. I think Connecticut might have done that. And then like one of the Carolinas did that. And then the other thing that they did is they would outlaw speech criticizing slavery in a lot of the southern states and in some of the northern states too. And so they would literally take state action against newspapers doing that type of thing. You'd also have mobs burning these things down too. There's no kind of protection there. And so, yeah, initially free speech was not a established thing, even though it was written into the Constitution in the country. Like, it has been a long decade, now centuries long process of getting to the point of it is a good moral and a good governance position to have, that we should be able to criticize our government. Again, not even the United States has been way better about this than most other countries, but even here, that is a hard fought right that even built into the Constitution had to be fought for over the decades. And I say all this to say that it is no guarantee that that right will continue indefinitely. When government starts to attack that right, we need to be aware of that, not take it for granted, and continue to fight for it.
Yeah, especially when you hear, what? In the United States? That could never happen here. Well, it has. And it could. Yeah. And it's heading in that direction.
Mm-hmm. So even people like the founding fathers, they were imperfect folks, which is why they wrote the Constitution the way they were, because they recognized that they were imperfect. They were, men, not angels. And also why John Adams is one of the worst presidents. We should all hate John Adams. That guy is terrible. Sorry.
Anyway, the federal bank too. So Andrew Jackson. I can't remember.
No, so Andrew Jackson was the one who wanted to get rid of the Bank of the United States. Alexander Hamilton was the one who wanted to create the Bank of the United States, felt that was necessary to participate in world commerce. And then, got in a fight with Aaron Burr because, Alexander Hamilton was also, he was not as pro freedom as Thomas Jefferson, except for, the whole slavery thing where he had a huge blind spot, but pro freedom for, himself. And the founding fathers are complicated. That I'll put that out there. But and then him and Aaron Burr had a duel over them being jerks to each other. The actual history of like the founding of this country is like way less clean than your elementary school history book.
Yeah, you don't see that in AP American history, that's for sure.
Yeah. So but again, the point of all this stuff is that like, we have to keep an eye on this. There's a history in the United States even of coming to the point where, well, if you are criticizing the government, if you're criticizing what the state is doing, again, at any level of government, then you are a danger to your community. You're a danger to the continuity of the American ideal. And the government will absolutely compromise their own ideals that they claim to represent, in an effort to shut down a threat to their power.
Government is always going to take care of government first, Kevin. That's how it's going to be.
You're darn right.
Yep.
Right, so
unless we limit it to the point where you can't do that, but we're nowhere near that right now.
Gotta keep doing that. And again, it's not just a constitutional thing. I'm not who is the guy? Oh man, I'm trying to think of like the guy who made a competing post office, Lysander Spooner, who was like, well, the Constitution, what's that doing to limit the government? He wasn't wrong. Is like, the Constitution's a nice thing, but like it doesn't limit the government if no one enforces that.
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. And I think that's why you see so many people standing up so passionately when government oversteps. And there's always that crowd that says, guys, why is this a big deal? And they'll say, well, government's there. Government's supposed to protect us from this. And that's not the answer at all. We, the people, need to make sure that we're keeping government in check and that we're standing up and that we're protecting ourselves from government growing and government overreaching, because in the eyes of many of elected government officials and then those who are just appointed by them, Constitution is just a piece of paper to them.
Yeah.
More like guidelines, you know.
Suggestions.
Suggestions.
Right? Not supreme law of the land. No. Just we can work around that. The Constitution only protects journalists, not information brokers.
Mm-hmm.
Different thing. It clearly says, freedom of speech, but these are information brokers. They're different.
Yeah. If government was left unchecked and nobody stood up and said, "Hey, government, this is not constitutional." If that didn't happen over a decade ago, the Second Amendment would mean people could walk around in tank tops. And that's
the right to bear arms.
Right to bear arms. That's that's where we would be. And we're certainly not where we should be now. But that's just a testament to gotta stand up, keep government in check, and when they start doing bad things and start going against their charter, if you will, gotta do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's funny. Like our plan was to also talk about the red flag law that was snuck into the National Defense Appropriation Act, and then a bunch of Republicans voted for. We didn't get to that, unfortunately. So, but check out that story too. It'll hopefully get removed in conference. But a bunch of Republicans who are allegedly pro Second Amendment ended up supporting this very bad bill.
Yep. And we said, if it comes to New York, it'll come to the rest of the nation. Here we are.
Sure will. Just a matter of time. We'll keep watching it, folks. All right. Andrew, thanks for being on again.
Yep. Thanks for having me, as always.
Absolutely. All right. So we'll be back with more on A Free Solution tomorrow. Tim O'Connor will be on, and then Tim and I will both be on Friday. Talk to you then.